Boys, I don't think you realise how much your life can change in the space of 12 months. I used to be that guy, out of shape, unhappy, unconfident. I used to wake up in the morning and genuinely be disgusted with what I saw. I couldn't walk up the stairs without being out of breath. I used to avoid photos. I didn't like going to the beach or to the pool because I had to take my top off. Now, I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm so happy with where I'm at. I own my own business. I live in the Mediterranean and I now help people achieve the same things that I achieved through the experiences that I've been through. And that's what I'm basically going to talk to you guys about in this video. I'm going to be explaining my whole entire life story up until this point. The mistakes I've made, the experiences I've had, the trial and error, and I'm going to explain to you what I've done so you don't make those same mistakes. This video is going to be about 20-30 minutes long of me explaining everything that I've been through to get me to this point now. If you can't sit through that long of a video of me explaining the mistakes that I've made so you don't make them, then you're probably not ready for that transformation just yet. But for the boys that are, stick around, turn everything else off, listen closely and pay attention because this is going to get juicy. So to start off with, I had been overweight my whole entire life and I've been trying to actually get on top of it from about 13. That was 10 years ago. I literally turned 23 the other day. But yeah, I was basically trying to lose weight from about 13, the basic stuff. Like I knew if I just do a bit of cardio in the gym and eat some salads, I'll lose a bit of weight. And I did. I lost a little bit of weight at a time, but I'd always end up just putting it back on. And I was never truly serious because my entire life I was overweight. So that's all I kind of knew. I never really thought in my mind that I could ever get into some insane, crazy shape. So this started about 13 and during school, I didn't have the best of times. I wasn't like severely bullied. I wasn't like unpopular, but I definitely got picked on for my weight and I just mask it with trying to be the class clown. Yeah, I just like take the piss in school, try and make everyone laugh. Like if someone called me fat or made a joke, then I'd come back with a better joke. And it was just a way to kind of cover up what I was actually going through inside. This went on until I was about 16. Then at 16, we were going on rugby tour to South Africa with school. I'd also been playing rugby for about, well, since I was about 7 or 8 before that. So a good long while. And you'd think that'd get me in some shape, but it didn't, because when it comes to getting in shape, food is a key part and we're gonna get into a bit more about that. So yeah, we went on rugby tour. And this is where I kind of started to take it a little tiny bit more serious. We basically showed the basics of the gym. We were given like a cookie cutter program, like one size fits all. But this is where I kind of started to take it a little bit more serious and my eyes kind of opened to what the gym had to offer. So yeah, we went to South Africa on rugby tour. Now, this was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, genuinely. Although I was really out of shape and deep down really unhappy with my body, I had such a good time, like being with all the boys out in South Africa. We were staying with like townships, house shares, like with South African people. We were staying in like huts in the middle of a national park with like monkeys and deers and hippos around us. Like it was such a surreal experience and I honestly cherish that for the rest of my life. But this is where my rugby career came to an end. And obviously where I was such a big guy, I couldn't really run, I wasn't athletic, I never really got the ball and I could never really run with it to score a try. But in my last ever rugby game, I actually scored the winning try, which was a pretty fun experience. It was a good way to end off that career. But yeah, that trip came to an end and then that was the end of school. And at this point in my life, I didn't really know where I wanted to take it. Like, I didn't have a good time in school. I got picked on, I got taken the mick out of. I wasn't very academic. I was a bit of a class clown. I didn't really take it too seriously. But I thought, I'm just gonna go for sixth form. I got my grades, which was decent. So yeah, I went into sixth form and this is where things started to take a real bad turn. I wasn't on top of my health at all. I stopped caring. I was out drinking, partying, eating whatever I wanted. And this is where things started to get a bit risky and my health started to play a bit of a part. So 3 months into sixth form, I just had enough. I just thought school is not for me anymore and I'm gonna get an apprenticeship. Apprenticeship in the UK is basically like an internship where you work for a company while you're getting a qualification and you get paid for it in the meantime. So it was for me, it was a no-brainer, do you know what I mean? I start my career, I get paid and I also get the qualification. School just didn't make sense to me at this point. So I started the apprenticeship. Now, I was working for a foreign exchange company, basically a company that tries to beat the exchange rate of the banks for companies that are trading in foreign currencies. In my mind, I thought this was a brilliant idea and I thought this was such a good job. And the guy that hired me, he was gassing it up. He was like, you're gonna be on 100K a month. Like, this is easy stuff. Like, I used to work for a big company. Now I start my own business because there's so much money in it. And I was thinking, yeah, this is, everyone's in school getting their grades. I'm gonna be out like printing cash. It wasn't the case. I was dialing all day long. I was doing like 150 calls a day. It was miserable. It was a horrible, horrible job, and it was in a horrible area as well. And it got to a point then where I did the one thing that I knew I could always do, and that was turn to the food. So at this point, I was eating, boys. I was eating so much food. I was not on top of my health at all, and it was getting a bit risky. So at this point, I'd eaten myself to 120 kg. Now, this is where things started to get a little bit scary for me, where I started to think like, if I don't get on top of this now, this could take a really, really bad turn. So at that point, I was very, very uneducated in the whole fitness space, and I didn't really know exactly what to do. I just wanted a quick fix. I just wanted to lose as much weight as possible in the quickest amount of time and just start feeling kind of good about myself. So I discovered this thing called keto. Now, keto is basically where you remove all carbs out of your diet and you just eat protein and fats. By doing this, your body then changes its energy source from carbs to your fat stores. Now, I'll be honest, this worked wonders. I lost about 3 stone, which is about 20 kg in 3 months. Now, to me, that was sick. Like, I was actually feeling decent about myself. I finally lost a good chunk of weight for the first time in my life, and I was starting to feel a little bit good about myself. But the thing is with doing a crash diet like keto is it isn't sustainable. Like, you can't not eat carbs for the rest of your life. It's just impossible. No one's gonna survive like that. So I lost a load of weight. I was starting to feel good about myself. But then the minute I stopped keto after that 3 months, I put all of the weight back on. Like, at this point, boys, I was so disheartened with myself. Like, I'd lost all this weight. I put in a graft. Keto was suffrage. Like, you don't understand the difference of having carbs in your diet to not. Like, so hard. You don't realize how many things have carbs, like milk. Like, why has milk got carbs? I was thinking I could be all protein products, all dairy products, but no. So it was really hard. I lost all that weight. I put it back on, and at this point I was feeling super down. So a couple years passed at this point, and I wanted the next way to lose a load of weight. So I discovered kickboxing. Now, I loved kickboxing. Kickboxing was so much fun. I used to do it with my friend. We found this gym. Like, we keep each other accountable because we were both showing up at the same times, and it was just a good way to lose weight. Like, I think martial arts in itself is a great sport because you'll never be the best. There's always something to improve on, and it was a really fun way to lose weight. So I did this for maybe 3 months again, and I lost about 2.5 stone, which was really good again. I think it was about near enough 15 kg. And then in that time, I then stopped. My mate stopped going. I wasn't enjoying it as much anymore because I was by myself, and it all came to an end once again. So I lost all the weight, feeling good about myself, found something I actually enjoyed, and then it all stopped, and you'd never guess what happened after that. All the weight came back. So at this point, I was super down bad. Like, this was the second attempt now at trying to get in shape, and I'd failed. I'd failed again, and I was feeling super miserable at this point. I was super just unhappy with not being able to find something that I can stick with and actually just keep the weight off. Like, at this point, I was thinking, like, is it ever gonna happen? Am I ever gonna get in shape? And it would still be a couple years until I got into that best shape of my life. But at this point, I was just super down bad, and I didn't really know what to do with myself. I was working a horrible job that I hated. I was working in a spray shop spraying cars. The people I worked for were fucking horrible people. So again, I was just in a super bad position in my life, out of shape, unhappy with my body, with my career, where I'm at, and I was just down bad once again. At this point, I decided to make a rash decision. And because I was so unhappy with my job, I was so unhappy with where I was at in my life and my body and how I was feeling about myself, I just decided I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna quit my job with the goal of making £50 per day. I thought if I can somehow manage to make £50 per day online, then I can survive and I don't need a job. So I did exactly that. I quit my job, I handed in my notice, I didn't go back the next day, and I decided, right, this is the point where I'm going to change my life. And I did. I quit my job and I discovered Forex trading. Now, with trading, I basically started with an online guru. This guy basically added me into his group. I paid to be added into the group. Some money that I didn't have as well, because I just quit my job. I kind of needed to save everything just in case things didn't work out and had to get a job again. So I invested this money into this group. I was working with this guy. So I kind of saw what he was doing. He was giving me like a load of trades in the day. I'd do them. I'd make a little bit of money from some of them, and then I'd get a really, really bad one and I'd lose all the money. But in my head, I was thinking, right, I made some money. It will clearly work again. So I'm just gonna stay in the group and then make some money tomorrow. Excuse the hair, it is quite windy out here. I'm gonna go for a swim in a bit as well. But look, I did this for literally about a week, and then I just started to clock what was going on. Like, I saw what he was doing. He was giving me all the good trades and then one bad one, losing a load of money. So I then decided to take it into my own hands and start this trading thing full time. So I did that. And you won't believe me, but I started to make up to £1,000 per day. I was thinking, I've done it. I've beaten the matrix, as they say. I've escaped. I was working for myself. I was earning up to £1,000 a day, and I thought this was it. I've made it out. I did what I said I was going to do. I'm doing it, and I was living the life. I was literally going to bed, setting some trades, and then by the time I wake up in the morning, they had closed and I'd be in profit. And then the rest of the day I got to myself to just do whatever the fuck I wanted. And this was a good life. This was, honestly, this kind of showed me what was out there and the money that was out there in the world. So I did this for a couple months. I was making loads of money. I think I racked up about 10K in about a month. I was buying expensive clothes. I was going out for dinners. I was just eating out all the time. My health wasn't top of priority, but money was top of the priority, and I was making it. I was living it. And then it all came crashing down. The greed had got to me. That internal greed that fat boy had, and I was still fat at this point, but the greed had then gone from food to money. I got greedy, I discovered gold, and I was doubling my lot size. I was so confident at this point that I could make money. I was doubling my lot size, thinking I'm gonna make £2,000, £3,000 a day, be on like 30K a month, like stupid numbers. And it all came crashing down. I lost 2.5 grand in a day. Now, that feeling of losing that amount of money, because before, when I was earning like £1,000 a day, the money didn't really have any value. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't seeing it as like £1,000. And now, if I get £1,000 a day, that's a fucking incredible day. Do you know what I mean? But at that time, the money didn't really have that much value to me. It was just numbers on a screen. Then I lost 2.5 grand in a day. And then I started to realize, like, wow, that's £2,500. Like, that could change a lot of things in my life right now. Because I lost all that money, I then started to scramble, and I started to think, all right, I'm just gonna make a load of trades now, make all the money back, and then I'll be back to square one. And then I kept losing more money. And I kept losing more money, until it was all gone. I had lost absolutely everything. And that feeling inside was like, it was like being shot. It was genuinely the most heartbreaking thing I had ever been through. See that yacht over there? That'll be mine one day. I'd lost all the money, and I was in such a terrible position, boys. It was heartbreaking, bro. Like, imagine that lifestyle was in front of you, where you're making £1 grand a day. You haven't even got to do anything. I was doing it before bed, waking up in profit, and it just got ripped away from you. It was so heartbreaking, honestly. I couldn't explain to you how bad I felt in those days. And if you've watched this far into the video, I'm sure you know exactly what happens next. I turned to the one thing that had never let me down to that point, and that was food. I turned back to food, and I wasn't even in that bad of shape. I mean, I was in really bad shape compared to what I have for standards now of being in shape. But I'd lost a little bit of weight from the kickboxing. I hadn't put it all back on, but I put some of it back on. But I turned to the one thing that I knew would make me feel better, and that was food. And I ate myself back up to the weight that I started at. At this point, I really did not know what I was going to do. I was back at square one in all aspects of my life. Like, I'd lost all the money, I'd lost the future career I thought I had with the trading, I was back overweight, unhealthy, unconfident, and it was a real dark time in my life. But most of the time, these dark points and that rock bottom is what creates the future. So this was like true rock bottom, and it was the lowest point in my life. So one day I just woke up and I decided I'm gonna go see my mates, I'm gonna speak to them, and I'm just gonna get myself out of this rut and just try and make something of myself. Because at this point, what have I got to lose? Do you know what I mean? I've already lost everything. So luckily my friend's dad had a job going in a timber yard. I was literally 1 week away from going completely broke and having to borrow money from people. But luckily I landed this job. It wasn't the best job in the world. It was decent, to be fair, but it definitely wasn't the career that I wanted in my life. But then the boys decided we're gonna go on holiday to Malta, actually, where I'm living now, where it all started. So I thought, right, I'm gonna now make that change that I've always wanted to make. I'm gonna get in shape, and this is gonna be the final time that I do it, and I'm gonna keep it off, and this is the time. And I did it. I got into the best shape of my life. I'd gone from absolute rock bottom to the peak and pinnacle of Rio Vela. I never thought I could ever achieve the physique that I did. It was such an incredible feeling. I was on the beach, I was around the pool with my top off, confident. I'd lost the love handles, I'd lost the belly, my chest was popping, my arms were popping. It was such a surreal feeling that I never really thought I could actually achieve. Being that fat kid from the start, I never truly thought deep down inside that I could ever be in some good shape. And I was in some incredible shape. It was such an incredible feeling to actually have confidence and not be thinking constantly what people are thinking about you. Like, it was such a surreal feeling. So I come back from the boys' holiday having such a good time. It was genuinely such a good experience to finally be able to do the thing that I'd always wanted to do. But of course, that isn't the end of the story. It gets worse from here, boys. I then decided I want to get into some even better shape. Like, I want to be fucking ripped. I want to look incredible. I want to look better than everyone else. So I decided the quickest way I'm going to be able to put on as much muscle as possible is by doing a dirty bulk. Now, a dirty bulk is probably the worst decision you could ever make. In the space of 6 months, I had gained 30 kilos of body fat. I also gained some muscle, but I gained 30 kilos and I was back into the worst shape of my life. I was literally feeling great about myself. I'd finally done it, and I fucked it. I fucked it by thinking doing a dirty bulk was the best decision to make. In all honesty, I was following Sam Sulek at the time, and this is when Sam Sulek kind of got big, and he told us calories equals calories. So I heard that and ran with it. I decided I'm going to eat as much food as possible, gain as much weight as possible, and then cut all the weight off and be in shape. And look, I did do that. It just took me triple the amount of time it took me to put on the weight. I lost all the weight in 18 months. 18 months. So I started the dirty bulk. I was eating 4, 5, 6,000 calories of just pure shit. I was eating like beige, British tapas. I was eating burgers, pizzas, takeaways multiple times a week. And in the space of 6 months, I gained 30 kilos. I then decided, right, it's now time to cut. At that point, when I decided to cut, I'd been fired. I got fired from my job because I was a bit shit and I didn't really care for the job because it wasn't taking me down the path that I wanted to go down, and I got fired from the job. So I was now back at rock bottom again. I was in the worst shape of my life with no job, and at this point I was thinking, what am I going to do now? Like, is this seriously happening to me again for like the 3rd time? So at that point, I had found my love for fitness. I was training, like I was really strong in the gym at this point. Obviously I'd been dirty bulking. I was getting really strong from the amount of energy that I had from all the food that I was eating. So then I decided, right, I'm going to do something that I actually think I'll enjoy, and that's personal training. So I quit my job. I invested $2,000 into a PT course. So over the next couple months, I started the training to become a PT. I landed myself a job delivering Chinese, and I also started my deficit. Now, Working at a Chinese takeaway, delivering Chinese while being in a deficit was so hard. It definitely built some character and it built some grit and will to not cheat on my diet, but it also made me cheat on my diet quite a lot. Like smelling Chinese in the back of your car while you're in a deficit made it so hard. But I also in that time then qualified to become a PT, and I then started to look for my first ever PT job. So at this point I landed my first PT job. I was working in a small family gym. I was still working at the Chinese midweek and on the weekend, and I was still trying to lose weight. At this point I'd maybe lost about 7 kg 6 months into the cut, which isn't too bad, but it could definitely be a lot better. 3 months into the job and I had no clients. I was making no money from it. And I was wondering why. Like, I'm a PT, I'm working in the gym with members, like surely I'm gonna start getting some clients. Nothing. I had absolutely nothing. And I remember saying to my dad, like, I think I'm gonna have to quit. I think I'm gonna have to get a more stable job where I'm actually earning a consistent income, because I'm just not earning any money. Like, that is such a terrible feeling. Like from the point that where I started, I thought finally I found something that I enjoyed. I was doing it, I liked the job, I was holding classes, but I just wasn't landing any clients and I wasn't making any money. And it was really, really disheartening. I thought because I had the qualification, I knew it all. I knew how to get in shape. So then why wasn't I in shape at that point? Like, I lost 7 kg, wow. I'd lost 7 kg multiple times in the past and I'd never been able to keep it off. So I had the qualification. I thought I knew how to lose weight, but clearly I didn't. So a couple more months passed and I managed to bag 1 or 2 clients. So it kind of showed me, all right, there can be a little bit of money in this, but nowhere near the money that I needed to make a career out of it. So at this point I was thinking, like, I just don't have the time now to get in shape. Like, I'm working 2 jobs that are very time consuming, yet I'm not earning any money from it. I can't then put more energy into something else when I'm putting all my energy into this just to survive. I was thinking, what can I do at this point to finally get into the shape that I wanted to be in? And I realized it wasn't time that was the problem, it was myself. I didn't truly believe that I could be in the shape that I wanted to be in. And I wasn't making the decisions that I knew were right for me. So then I sat down with myself and I thought, like, I need to take this serious. Like, I've started posting on Instagram now. I was starting to record my cut and basically post progress on Instagram. So that was kind of my accountability. Like, I was thinking to myself, I can't now not get in shape because it's gonna look embarrassing. Like, I've just posted all this on social media. People are gonna see that I haven't stuck to my word and got into the shape that I said I was gonna get into. So what I realized is it was fear. I feared the responsibilities that it took to actually get into the shape that I wanted to be in. I didn't think that I really had it in me to take on that responsibility and actually do it. So I sat down with myself and I thought, right, I want to get in this shape. I've got the accountability now. I know what I'm scared of. What is the next best decision that I can make? I then decided to work with a fat loss coach. Working with this fat loss coach was the best decision I had ever made. I got into the best shape of my life. I never thought I could get into the shape that I got into, and it was all through the guidance of having a coach. Now, what made this decision so special was I put my pride and my ego aside, and I decided if I want to get into the best shape of my life, I've got to make the best decision of my life. By doing so, I went from nearly 120 kg to 80 kg. I'd lost all the weight. I got shredded to the bone. I had abs, I had veins. I was living the dream. Then I started to land clients. I quit my Chinese job. I was earning enough money from the clients that I built up in this small, tiny family gym, and my career had finally started to take off. I had finally done it. I felt so accomplished with myself and so proud of myself that I could actually stick to something, keep promises to myself, and actually keep the weight off this time and be in the best shape of my fucking life. So at this point, I then decided I want more. I want to help more people. I want to earn more money. I want more out of life. Because as a personal trainer, you're limited to the amount of people in your area and the amount of members in the gym. So I decided I want more. I want to start taking my online career more seriously, and I want to help people around the world. So after about a year, I built up a good client base and I decided to quit. I decided to quit the only job that I had ever enjoyed, and it was a scary decision. It was a really, really scary decision because I was finally stable, I was finally comfortable with my life, and I just fucking flipped it on its head again. I quit this job to become an online fitness coach. I decided if I want to be able to take my career online and start earning more money and get more out of life, I've got to then put all my time and energy into that, and by doing so, I quit. I finished up all my sessions with my clients and I decided I'm going to take this seriously. I packed up my bag in the gym, and I decided I'm going to give all my energy to the online space. I started posting online my transformation, I started to rack up a good amount of views, and I landed my first ever client. Landing that first client just showed me what was available to me. There was millions of people out there that had been through the same struggles that I had, and I could now help them through the experiences that I had. After I landed my first client, I then landed my second client, then my third client, then my fifth client, then my 10th client. Now I work with loads of people around the world, get into the best shape of their life, and it's so fulfilling to me. And it's all because I started as that fat kid that decided to make a change for themselves. Now I have the opportunity to work for myself. I own my own business. I live in the Mediterranean by myself, living my dream life, and it all started as that fat kid that wanted to make a change. And it just shows you there is so much more to life when you really put the energy into yourself and make the best decision that is best for you. So if there's anything to take from this video, it's put the time, effort and energy into yourself. By doing so, for me, I now get to live this dream life out here in the Mediterranean, working with people around the world, getting the best shape of their life, helping people, and it all started from one decision and one promise that I made to myself. So if you've related or been through any of the experiences that I've been through in this video, and you finally want to make a change and you finally want to take some action, then there's a link in the description to book a one-to-one call with me where we can basically plan out a map how you're going to get into the best shape of your life. So once again, boys, I appreciate if you've watched to the end of the video. Not a lot of people have probably made it this far in the video, so if you have, it kind of shows that you are ready to make that change. If so, hit the link in the description and I'll see you in the next video.